are rolling.
Yay.
Okay, right. Hello, Rodrigo. Actually, before we're going to talk about Universal Passport, I want to congratulate you on starting your YouTube channel.
Oh, yes. Thanks.
Yeah. What's it called? Tell us a bit more about what actually it's going to do.
So yeah, the name is the Nervos Investor, and it's basically a YouTube channel for translating kind of the same thing that we're doing here,
Mm-hmm.
but with slides because I'm a very visual guy, so the slides help us to understand a little bit of with diagrams and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and actually that your first YouTube video, because you done one in Portuguese, didn't you?
I've done I'm recording the video both in English and in Portuguese, the same like video. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it was about who's actually invested in Nervos, as in the companies, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and actually I found it a really good video.
Many people just look at those partners. They don't have a clue of who they are. So
yeah. So I'm going to link.
Some of the biggest.
I'm going to link to your channel on the description of this video.
Okay.
And to the first one as well. So yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk about Nervos's interoperability solution. I always have difficulty saying that word. Which is the universal passport, right?
Yes. When we see the website Universal Passport for Blockchain, most people, they don't have a clue of what's written in there, really.
Okay. So do you want to explain exactly what it is? Because I'm sure there's some people out there that won't understand or want to know.
Okay. So there are a couple of things. The first and the biggest one is probably the interoperability capacity of Nervos blockchain. Let's put it this way. When you look at interop from other networks like DOT and Cosmos, you're going to see a lot of stuff done like circling other blockchains. Polkadot, they work with the concept of parachains. They have their main chain, which is the Polkadot blockchain, and they have the parachains, which should be the applications themselves. So they've got a whole ecosystem done around that. So they've got Reef and other developments going on, and they tie the developer into that kind of design in which they have to do all kinds of stuff to support like each application individually. So they've got an auction thing going on. They've got a line for auctioning new tokens. It's kind of complex, and most developers, if they want to develop on Polkadot, they will face many barriers and complexities. And it's just the same for the Cosmos network. Cosmos network is trying to establish hubs that will be the entry doors to other blockchains. And mostly anybody could be a hub and establish a hub, and that would be an entry point. And you've got to, in order to reach the other blockchains, you've got to connect to the hub and everything. So it comes to a place in which both of those players, they are establishing new paradigms, new standards, but their standards don't talk to each other. So you're just raising the complexity and really creating a higher level problem, which is which standard will I choose? And my applications, will they be able to do interop with applications in the
So can I ask you a really basic question? Because some people are going to look at this and think, okay, what actually is the problem that interoperability? What is the interoperability problem?
Oh yeah, that's the
At the
first
basic
question,
level,
actually.
because I think this is
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
the first question.
Yeah, that's the most accurate question possible. So interoperability. When you establish a blockchain, you've got a peer-to-peer network. So volunteers put their computers, connect to that network, and we have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum. Those are different blockchains.
Yeah.
If you want Ethereum to survive, you would probably become an Ethereum miner. If you want blockchain to survive, you would probably become a blockchain miner or a
Blockchain or Bitcoin.
Oh, sorry, Bitcoin.
Okay.
Yeah, I just just changed it too. So you've got siloed blockchains, because when a user is interacting with Bitcoin network, it can't go to Ethereum network, and vice versa. If I'm interacting with Ethereum network, I won't be able to instantaneously dealing with Bitcoin network. So and so on for other blockchains. So now we have more than 8,000 coins in total, and not all of them have their own blockchains. Most of them are just using Ethereum. So in Ethereum, we got thousands of different tokens. They can like talk to each other, but they can do full interop, like going to Bitcoin, going to Tron network. A user in Ethereum network would just be able to interact with Ethereum like applications.
Mm-hmm. But
So,
not with Bitcoin, for example.
Not with Bitcoin, not with Tron.
Yeah.
And there are there are big applications on the other blockchains. Like Bitcoin's the most expensive coin today. Tron has so many good apps in there. So this is the main problem. If I want to use all those apps, I have to be aware of which blockchain I'm using right now.
Yeah.
I've got to install all kinds of wallets, and I've got to remember, like,
yeah.
Let me go to Bitcoin now. Oh, let's go to Ethereum now. Let's go
and then you have to send them on the relevant networks, don't you? Like either the Tron network, the ERC20 network.
Yeah.
And they're different. They're like different roads for different cars. Yeah.
Yes.
And that if you drive that car, you can't go on that road.
Yes.
But you can go on that road.
Exactly.
And you can go to that city, but you can't go to that city.
Yeah. It's just not allowed.
Yeah. It's like, and they're all sort of in between each other, but they're not actually, they're not communicating with each. So it's really interoperability opens up the line of communication, right?
Yeah.
Between all these networks.
For today's internet user, it is too much like you've got a specific browser to go to Amazon, and if you want to go to Google, you have to open another browser like it's Chrome for Amazon and Internet Explorer for Google, and the problem grows. Problems will grow over time.
And this is actually what happened at the beginning of an internet, wasn't it? Because at the beginning of the internet, you had different network protocols. I remember the network protocol. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. You remember that, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah, I forgot.
No, I'm just too young to remember that. No, sorry, I remember everything.
I don't even know how old you are.
I'm 39.
I'm a little bit older then, so yeah.
Okay, so we're together.
Yeah. So it's like at the beginning of the internet, no one could talk to each other, and this is what it's like right now in blockchain, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. We've got so many different blockchains with different patterns.
Yeah.
And the user just has to remember everything, And the biggest problem on top of that is people who are currently doing interop blockchains, like wanting to connect all of them, they're just establishing their own pattern, their own standard, and they want every developers to go to their standards. So when you got competing standards, you just got more silos. You just get more roads that
Yeah.
can't go. You have to get a specific vehicle to go to 5 cities, but you can go to the 10 cities that
Yeah.
exist.
Actually,
this is a big problem today.
yeah. Actually, I when I first started with crypto, I didn't really understand all of this. I kind of understood it, but I made a mistake. I was on, I think, the Binance Smart Chain, and
The
I
network,
wanted to
you're connected.
send to an ETH wallet.
Okay.
I forgot. I think I was sending USDT to an ETH wallet, but I was doing it through the Binance Smart Chain, and it never got there. Yeah. And someone was telling me, it's like myself, I'm putting my currency on an airplane. The airplane's gone, but the airport hasn't been built yet.
You don't know.
Hasn't been built yet. So I'm like, oh, okay. So eventually I ended up getting my money back because I ended up getting a cryptocurrency back, which is cool. But that doesn't always happen, does it?
That's exactly what happens. People just yesterday I was talking to some Brazilian crypto investors. They're very tech savvy, but they're just going on in the chat and they're looking and they're like, oh, I just stopped using Polkadot because I don't understand it. It's too complex. I don't know how to connect to their apps. I don't know how to transfer from Binance to the DApp wallet. And yes, this is pretty much the cumbersome experience that we're having right now with the biggest blockchains that claims to be interoperable. So too complex, too bureaucratic. You've got to open something and connect to different network, and the user, it just won't want to map that out. So the problem is not solved.
And this is the thing that's going to prevent mainstream adoption, isn't it? Unless someone solves this,
yes.
then mainstream people aren't going to get into crypto, are they? So who could that someone be, Rodrigo?
Nervos Network already did. It's on mainnet. It's online, and people are experiencing it.
Okay, so with regards to Nervos's solution to this interoperability problem, how does it do things differently?
Okay, so as an analogy, imagine that each blockchain has their own language. One blockchain speaks Portuguese, and another one speaks English and Spanish, Arabic, and so on. So Nervos team decided that their blockchain had to understand all those languages instead of creating their own language. So this is pretty much it.
Yeah.
Nervos blockchain is capable of in technical terms, we should say that Nervos network is capable of validating transactions in other chains other than Nervos itself, and only that.
And just for the layperson, how big a thing is that?
So I'll give you an example. That same guy who has given up Polkadot, he went to Porta Wallet the other day. He opened his MetaMask. He went to ckb.pw. He saw his address, his CKB address, apparently in Ethereum network. Better than that, it's just, I'm just using MetaMask. I don't know which network I'm in. I'm using MetaMask, whatever. I'm opening ckb.pw and I'm looking at a DApp. I don't know anything about blockchains. I just know that I want to transfer my CKBs from Binance to the CKB wallet. He doesn't have a clue of what's happening truly. It's just, okay, now I've got my wallet. Let me get the address. Let me get Binance to withdraw my CKBs to my address. And he was like, but he was actually, he's used Polkadot, he's used Binance Smart Chain. And he was like, so how can I configure my MetaMask to connect to Nervos blockchain? I was like, just connect to your Ethereum network. Forget all about that. And he was like, no, really, man. He insisted on the theory that he had to configure the MetaMask to connect to the right chain. I was like, forget about that. I have already told you that. Just connect to ckb.pw in Ethereum, you're good. And he was like, it's not possible. I said to him, well, that's why I invested in Nervos.
It's possible.
Like, yeah, he was already, it's incredible because in this channel, we have like 500 Brazilians and they didn't understand Nervos. They went to the website, they're not, they don't understand the technical nitty and gritty stuff. So they've asked for an explanation and sent some audios, and most of them decided to hold CKB. They are most traders, day traders, but when they've learned what CKB is about, they was like, I'm gonna hold this one. And they just decided to go as a holder. That was very bullish because this is a hardcore group for day traders. They're just leveraging their capital and shorting, longing, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But they looked at CKB's clear explanation and they go like, yeah, this one is for holding. And even if they already was decided to hold CKB, they couldn't grasp what the universal passport thing is about. It was like, okay, so I have to configure, give me some more complex stuff to do. It's like to do that. They're used to complexity. And I was like, no, you don't have to do that. Just use Porta Wallet on Ethereum network, you're good. And this is the same experience. Porta Wallet will appear in just any wallet.
So what did you say? Porta Wallet?
Porta Wallet.
So what's Porta Wallet?
Yeah, so Porta Wallet is a wallet, a dApp. The address is ckb.pw. And from there, you can have your own wallet address. Currently, Nervos Network has two main wallets. The first one is Neuron Wallets, which is a full node wallet. You got to install on your computer, and it takes a lot of time to sync. Team is already aware of that, and they're working on a solution so that users don't get scared. That's a whole other subject. So you got Neuron Wallet, and you got the Porta Wallet, which is just a browser wallet that you can open up from any internet browser with MetaMask extension, or you can open from MetaMask on your cell phone. I use on my mobile phone. So I just open my MetaMask, go to browse, ckb.pw, that's where my wallet is. So I was just like teaching them how to use the ckb.pw. And those guys, they have the belief that to do interop, they have to kind of do some configuration in their MetaMask and stuff. And yeah, you just don't.
Can you actually, just so I get, can you actually store something like ETH on this Porta wallet, for example? Or does it have to be, see, how does it actually work? Because I'm still, with regards to my understanding, it's, you know, I know there's certain wallets that you can use to store certain currencies.
Yeah.
What about this Porta wallet? Could you store ETH onto it, for example? How?
It's not ready yet, but you could store USDT, ETH, just any tokens. The plan of Nervos team is to allow any kinds of assets to be stored in a Nervos blockchain wallet. So yeah, it will be possible in the future. It's
So
like the infrastructure is already there, but there are some code missing in the dApp itself. It's not on the basic blockchain layer.
so it would be able to be stored on this wallet. Would it be able to be stored on any sort of Nervos wallet, compatible wallet? That anyone. So you could effectively, could you store, like, I know it's probably not ready yet, could you store ETH on the Neuron wallet, for example?
Yes, they would create a wrapped version of ETH. It's called, I think, the PETH.
Not CKETH, or is that
No,
something else?
CKB is the native token. Oh, CETH, sorry.
CKETH, yeah.
CKETH, yeah, something like that. So
Okay, all right.
when you store the ETH in Nervos blockchain, you got CETH or CKETH.
Yeah, I think I saw
And
that somewhere. Yeah.
So we still didn't. We still need the user to understand a little bit of blockchains, but not as much as when you're doing Binance Smart Chain or Polkadot or Cosmos. The users will be able to just access Nervos dApp from any wallet. That's the big difference. And for the developer, it's even great. There are just many more things to it. The developer won't be required to go through all kinds of complexities and learning about a new framework for doing applications. For today's blockchain space, Nervos will be able to just install applications that was originally designed for Ethereum network. So it's the first basic stuff. If developers already know Ethereum language, which is called Solidity, the programming language, they would do just fine on Nervos blockchain.
So they could install these dApps onto the Nervos blockchain, stuff that they've already designed, that they've already got a structure with, yes?
They're doing the finishing touches for that portability layer. It's called
Polyjuice.
Yeah. So Polyjuice is just a layer on top of which you can install any Ethereum dApp with very little changes, very small changes required. So you just tweak a little bit and you're good to go from Ethereum to Nervos network. And the magic thing, you can still be able to reach the Ethereum users in the same way, and you can go to all the other blockchains that are being like translated to Nervos blockchain. And yeah, we have a pretty good system for lowering the transaction fees. So it's less transaction fees and higher throughput for transactions. We've got unlimited scalability on Nervos blockchain. We have a low learning curve for the developers, for the programmers. They just are doing stuff that they already know in order to get the app installed on Nervos blockchain. And they can reach just much more users than before with no extra complexities. They don't have to talk to anybody. They just get the dApp and tweak a little bit and just deploy on Nervos blockchain.
Sounds like that's pretty amazing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's like revolutionary and it's going to change everything, which if you've been on the forums for, Nervos for some time, you'll see people saying, oh my God, especially new people that really get this or that start to get it. They're like, oh my God, this is, I've sold all my Cardano and now I've invested in CKB, or I've sold,
When I first saw Nervos CKB token, it was like everybody who is into hyped coins, they will sell some of them in order to go to CKB, at least some. If someone is a Bitcoin maximalist, he'll go like, oh, this CKB thing is cool. I can hold just a small bit. And Ethereum people and Tron and Cardano, and this is what is happening right now. People are diversifying and coming to Nervos blockchain as investors. When I saw that, I was like, I'm going to go 100% in CKB. And when people get just like a small bit of their portfolios into CKB, then I'm good because Nervos will receive a lot of money. So
yeah, I mean, funny enough, I've got, I don't know how many of your friends you've introduced to Nervos. I've got pretty much all my friends invested into Nervos. People that have never invested into cryptocurrency
before.
Yeah. And I was saying to them, look, you know, I even, you know, on my channel, there's the video of how to purchase it with Binance. And I said, I send them that link. I say, you got any problems, contact me. And, you know, just leave it in the, just stake it in the DAO. There's a video for that. And leave it in there. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, check on it now and again. And
I've got some of them,
and they're like, and I said, look, you know, and I explain it a little bit, but even, you know, my sister, she's never done any of this before at all. She's even done it, so but she's just amazing. Done it without knowing any of the tech, just because I told her.
Yeah, most people will just trust your word, but here is the full explanation, the full disclosure of what Nervos full interoperability conundrum is about. So
yeah. So it's literally just opening up the communication channels, the doors, you know, for everyone to speak to each other, for all these systems to speak to each other in a really smooth way.
Yeah. There's another analogy that I like to use, which is the chameleon.
Chameleon?
Chameleon or chameleon?
Chameleon.
Chameleon, sorry. Yeah, here in Brazil, sometimes people just tell the wrong thing. So the chameleon analogy, which is Nervos network is capable of behaving as if they were the other network. So it's not about language. The code is capable of completely mimicking other networks, and it doesn't require hard forks. So hard fork would be you asking all miners to reinstall their full node in all their computers so that you can have an extra set of features. And this is a big hassle in Nervos blockchain.
Or in other blockchains.
It would be. In the other blockchains today is a big hassle, but in Nervos blockchain, you've got, we call those abstractions. I think that would be a great subject for another video.
Yeah.
But you've got Nervos blockchain to be like a chameleon that just go along the other nodes like, oh, I'm one of your brothers, you know, just talk to me. And nobody knows. And the other nodes on the other blockchains will go like, oh, he's
one of us.
It's one of ours. So it's
it's so powerful, you know, what they're doing, what the team are doing at Nervos. It's going to revolutionize everything, and that will show in the value of its token, won't it?
There's another thing that can be done in the applications with Nervos, which is you can swap tokens, and not only swap tokens, but you can do cross-chain transactions without the users having to do like 2 or 3 transactions. So in other blockchains today, if you want to do a cross-chain transaction, like sending USDT to another blockchain, you have to send your USDT to an address, a specific address in one wallet, then opening another wallet and opening another dApp. And from there, you can ask for withdrawal to your to the other chain native wallet address. And you've got to do 2 or even 3 transactions to do a cross-chain transaction. So this is very clumsy. And in Nervos, you could just have one transaction in one dApp, in one wallet, and you're just sending money to any blockchains you want.
Is that feature available now?
It is available in the base layer of Nervos blockchain, but we still don't have dApps on top of it. So that's what the team is working. One of the things the team is working right now is finishing Glia swap. So it will be one example of that capacity of doing just one transaction and like altering multiple blockchain states.
Okay.
Altering states in multiple blockchains. So,
right. Because a lot of times I've noticed the fees for these certain transactions. So, for example, I think it was yesterday, I wanted to send some ETH from my Binance account to, where was it? Some other Changely, I think it was.
Changely.
Yeah, and I think it was giving me certain options, but they were very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if it's possible, using Nervos, whether something like that would have been much cheaper, because I think the cost was doing something was $19 or something like that, just to send.
Okay.
So
So regarding fees, we've got 2 classes of problems. The first one is what everybody's complaining about on Ethereum. It's a native token fee that's too high currently.
We're talking about the gas fees.
What?
Are you talking about the gas fees or yeah?
Yeah, the gas fees for the transactions. From that one, in Ethereum, when you're interacting with Ethereum, even from a Nervos dApp, if Nervos has to interact with Ethereum, it has to pay the gas prices for Ethereum. That's innegotiable.
Mm-hmm.
So for that problem, most blockchains are already starting to develop things that Nervos was basically created for right from the start, which is the layer 2 scaling transactions. We've already talked a little bit about that in here, but it will be just like, instead of settling each individual transaction on the layer 1 of the blockchain, on Ethereum native layer, for example, you could have like 10 to 1,000 transactions in a different layer, in a superior layer, we would call the layer 2, and gathering all those transactions into one transaction only in the settlement layer, which would be the layer 1, the native Ethereum layer. So this is what Ethereum is trying to do. Nervos is just built for that from the beginning, and it's very different trying to change something that's already functioning than doing from the start with a good design. It's very, very different. Ethereum
network, it's probably a lot harder, isn't it?
It's much harder and sometimes impossible, because you can't just change radical stuff on your root layer without affecting the current dApps. So it's kind of impossible to change radical things on layer 1 without requiring all the miners to reinstall the full nodes and everything. There are too many things that are hard to change on Ethereum without hassling with miners and developers and users from the application. Yeah. It's a very hard task.
On that note, I know other blockchains find that specific thing really difficult, but Nervos is actually also designed a little bit differently, where something like that is more possible, isn't it? Or am I mistaken about that?
It's much easier to deal with. We know that the base layer, when everybody's using the blockchain at the same time, the fees start to go up because the transaction is scarce. We've got too many people trying to transact on a limited transaction blockchain. And all the blockchains will have limited transactions throughput. So when everybody goes in, you've got scarcity of transactions, and then the price of the transactions on the base layer will go up. So what Nervos aims right from the beginning is that, yes, the transactions are very, very inexpensive right now. You pay less than 1 cent to transaction layer 1, but the Nervos team knows that when Nervos is like used by a lot of people, the transactions will go higher. It's just an unsolvable problem because um, because the blockchain is a very scarce asset when you've got too much users. So what they are planning right from the start is, okay, if the transactions fees are going up, we just build a way that people will be able to gather and aggregate transactions on a different layer, and the developer will be able to ask for cheaper fees from other users, and then use that aggregated fee to pay for the layer 1 transaction. So
Okay.
this is the main design. So this is the first big problems on fees. If Nervos is interacting with other blockchains, it has to pay for the fees on the other blockchains. And we've got to get through the hassle of dealing with other blockchains' inefficiencies. So the fees high on Ethereum, we're still going to pay higher gas fees when we're dealing Ethereum transactions. But the other problem, you mentioned Changely. The SECs, the centralized exchanges like Binance, Changely, or Coinbase, Bittrex, so on, they've got their own fee structure. So it's a whole other problem. If you're withdrawing CKB from Binance, you are going to pay 1 CKB for the withdrawal. But if you are just sending CKB to other people from your Nervos wallet, you're going to pay like 1,000th
Yeah.
CKB for each transaction. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's the right word. 1,000th.
1,000th of a CKB. Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000th of CKB. So it's much more cheaper doing transactions on the Nervos layer than trying to get money out from and in from an exchange, a centralized exchange. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Problem. Yeah.
And just I think one final question I want to ask you, if you know this, is whether the actual blockchain, the different companies or the projects, are they actually working together at all? Or do they actually work in their own shell, and perhaps they may, the founder may speak to, I forgot his name, Vitalik, isn't it?
Vitalik.
Yeah, he may speak to the Cardano person. And do they actually work together, or do they just work in their own shells? And I'm just curious.
It depends. Nervos Network has a very, very good capacity of a feature, which is, if you're a developer, you can store code on chain, and other developers could reference your code already deployed in the blockchain. In general, when somebody builds a blockchain code, they would put on a website called GitHub. GitHub is a website that stores code from everybody, and as blockchains have to have the code audited by the whole community. People just learn from each other in that way. So all Ethereum code base is on GitHub, and any developer can just download it and learn from it. So in that sense, all the developers in the blockchain space are collaborating because they are learning from each other's successes. But Nervos goes one way further, because if I have a good code, I can just install in Nervos blockchain And then other developers they don't even have to know the code lines. They can just reference the code I've installed in the network. So the code is already running in other.
Which means what, really? What does that mean? Does it mean more efficient, quicker, easier?
It means having a much easier. Um, it's about easiness and speed.
Ease of use and speed, yeah.
Speed. For a developer, he wouldn't have to download the code from the code base, look at what the code does, and like writing more lines of code and getting all those all that package and installing the blockchain. He can just learn about. It's like having a micro dApp, let's say that way, a micro dApp that's already installed in the network, and the developer will go like, this is already installed. Let me just use it. So developers could share code on chain. It's like a big step further than the GitHub sharing of code. So yeah, we've got too much collaboration. And this is why the blockchain space is growing so fast. It's because everything is open, everybody can learn from each other. But Nervos blockchain goes a big step further, like jumping.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to come up with. And do you happen to know when the Glia swap or Glia swap, when's it going to be ready?
They've said by the end of March, but being a developer myself, I know that testing and testing and testing is really required. And one thing that I love about Nervos team is that they are not in a rush to just launch things and pump the coin. They want to get really high quality tests done. So they've thought about by the end of March, but I guess we can expect both for end of March and beginning to even the end of April.
This is actually what I like as well about the whole philosophy of Nervos as well. They're not in any rush. They understand everything will come in its own time. They believe inherently in what they're doing, and they understand that in the future, this is going to be such a huge blockchain solution for many things. And I think they want the right kind of investors as well.
Yes.
And
it's just a blockchain for 100 years from now. When we talk about blockchain, it's very hard to not think that a blockchain should last like 100 years, 200 years, whatever. But it's mostly at a minimum time frame, it's for 20 to 30 years from now.
Yeah. I wonder what the price will be then of Nervos CKB in 20 years' time.
I don't know.
Yeah. We don't talk about price here, but yeah.
Yeah, I just hold it. Yeah. If you are doing something that will create value for everyone on a time frame of 30 years, why should I rush for a 1 to 2 weeks time frame? Like, oh, I'm rushing right now because I've promised that it would be ready in the next week. So I'm going to launch it anyway, even if it's not well tested. You're just putting a gun in your head. So
this exactly that is so well put. If you're going to do something that's going to last for 20, 30 years, if you're building a home or a house that's going to last, you don't need to rush it. It's like, okay, it's going to last a long time. I'm going to take my time of it in doing this. To get it right, because then it will last.
Yeah, this is a regular discussion among investors and developers. Should we rush a little bit more so that we can get it launched and everything? What I get from listening to the interviews and the town halls, it's like they're working their asses off. It's just like that. We're working our asses off, but we won't be responsible of launching something that's not production ready yet. So this is the kind of tone that I get from the interviews. And this is what good development is about. Working our asses off, but really not being irresponsible of launching something that is not well tested.
Yeah, yeah. It does seem to me that it's a solid, it's like the Rolls Royce of cryptocurrency, so to speak.
Yeah,
That's why I see Nervos CKB.
They don't make too much public appearances, and people complain about that. Mainly new investors, they go like, "Oh, we've got to have the team speaking in public and everything." And I was like, "No, the community has to spread the news, because these guys, the time they're having, if they spend their time just talking to people and selling the project, they can't write the code. So a developer should write the code." And this is even for myself. When I've got in, I saw that we didn't have that to a strong community that was going out and talking to people about Nervos. So the community was concentrated on Telegram. People would talk to other people, but we could strengthen that activity. So my main focus right now is to understand better about the base layer, the layer 2, and all the technology, and like doing these kind of conversations like with you and the other channel with other people, so that we can have a communication base that can grow all by itself. So there will be a time in which people will go like, how can I learn Nervos? They will go to your channel, they go to the Nervos Investor YouTube channel, and they will have this day-to-day like conversations that makes sense to the common user and the common investor.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got to strengthen that this initiative so that the team can concentrate on the computer stuff. When this kind of thing is ready and people have an easy time learning about Nervos, then I will get more into the code itself. So
okay, well, listen, we started this conversation with your just referencing your YouTube channel, so we're going to end it with referencing your YouTube channel. So I want to ask you, what are you going to do next? What's the next video?
Okay, so the next video in Nervos, there are two things actually. First one is I've created 100 slides presentation.
100 slides? Are you serious?
Yeah, 100 slides. 100.
All right, okay.
Exactly 100 slides presentation. And I'm going to split it into 8 videos.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a masterclass. I've called it a masterclass on how should people evaluate a blockchain investment and how Nervos fits into that criteria. Oh, my dog is like doing some party here.
It's really funny you should do that, because I started writing something exactly similar, like a Word document. I was going to write it, but I sort of started it, but then I left it. But it's great that you're doing that. And I'm glad you spread it up into 8 videos, because I don't know if you've heard death by PowerPoint. Have you heard that? Yeah, you don't want to kill anyone with your PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. So it's just split into 8 videos, and yeah, I decided to call it a masterclass because it's like the whole thing that people should evaluate when they're doing a blockchain investment. This is the first thing I'm doing, and the second one is just opening up the channel to other authors. So we are going to have a thing called the Nervos Land in the Nervos Investor channel, which is really a podcast thing like that we're doing in there. So we'll have very instructional videos and the Nervos Land podcast. Let's say that. So in Nervos Land, it's just like a party. We just get together in a Zoom call and just throw a subject, and everybody would talk whatever they think.
Sounds
and
great.
Very non-linear conversation, and yeah, it's just to have a good time.
Okay, all right. Well, Rodrigo, thank you so much again, and good luck with that. And yeah, we'll definitely chat again. I don't know what we're going to talk about next time, but yeah, it's always a pleasure. Oh, I think you've gone. Did you hear me? Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I've heard.